Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, hello.
Hi, I'm Sam Healey. What's up?
So Zee is joining us for another Miami Dice, and that's because this is his style game. Vikings Gone Wild.
And I played it.
As soon as you heard the name Zee was in.
Yes, absolutely.
This is kind of a weird name. When I first saw the picture of this, the Vikings Gone Wild, and the name, I assumed it was like a Take That game.
It certainly looks very silly.
Like, ooh, we're drinking beer, just some sort of Take That. But it's not. It's actually a deck building game. A light deck building game in which you can attack other players, which I think had you concerned when you first heard that.
Yeah, because that aspect of taking a deck building game and making it destructive is not readily engaging to me.
It has a pretty strong tableau building mechanic in it too, though, so it's not just about your deck building, it's also about hitting those people's buildings on the tableaus. So it's a pretty cool dichotomy.
Well, let's see how it plays. So you see there's a lot of cards here set up on the board, but it's not as confusing as it looks. The goal of this game is to get the most points when in a 3-player game if someone passes 30, or in a 4-player game someone passes 40. The game will end, although there's a few extra points scored at the end of the game. Everyone is going to start with a basic deck that's made up of 6 beer, 2 gold, and 2 Viking warriors. Players are also going to start with a player aid sheet, which has a spot for their deck, their discard pile, and has a couple 1-point missions on it, as well as a token just to show what character you are. Your matching token is down here to keep score. Players also have a Town Hall card, which starts at level 1 but can go up to level 3 over the course of the game. So the players are going to shuffle their deck, and the first thing that will happen each round of the game is that players are going to get resources. Now, you won't have resources at the beginning, but eventually you might build breweries and gold factories, and these will produce beer and gold respectively. These are resources that you can use over the course of a round. If you don't use them, they go away unless you own a gold or beer container in which you can store gold or beer in them at the end of a turn. So players will get those resources, then each player is going to draw 5 cards from their deck. They're then going to play these cards in turn order, starting with the person who has this, and turn order will change from round to round. Now, many of the cards you have will give you beer and or gold, although this is kind of virtual that you have just for that round only, and you can add any beer or gold that you have produced that turn to it to buy different cards that are out there. You can buy these buildings. Each building has a cost in the top corner. This one costs 2 gold, this one costs 3 beer. You have a limit of the number of buildings that you can build. You have a maximum of 3 buildings, but you can pay 3 gold to upgrade your town hall, so then you can have 6 buildings. Upgrade that for 6 gold to have no building limit. And this also gives you 5 points when you build the level 3 town hall. So you can see that there's 6 buildings that can be built. I've already showed you the brewery gold factory produce, the gold container, beer container, store, and then there's the ship here, which lets you keep 1 card from round to round, and the tavern lets you draw an extra card, so you'll be drawing 5 plus 1 for each tavern that you have. We also have some cards up here, and these cards can also be bought. And so, for example, this shockwave tower here can add 1 to the defense of a building, or this money theft, when you play this, lets you steal gold from another player's buildings. And these will also have gold and or beer costs for them. When you buy one of those, the cards will shift down and a new card will come out. So there's going to be different cards that are up there in that spot. At the end of each round, one of these will be discarded. So this is always going to be adjusting and changing to different cards that are at the top there. There's also attack and defensive cards. Players will start with 2 Viking warriors, but as the game goes by, they can also get elf archers, bone crushers, and pigators that they'll be able to add to their deck. When it's your turn, you can make an attack against one other player. When you attack another player, you will place an attack token on the buildings of that player that you're attacking. Attacking another player does not hurt that player. Instead, it basically just helps the attacker. When you've been attacked, you cannot be attacked again. So each player can only be attacked once per round, which is why you put this token out there. The other side of this token is construction. When you build a new building, you'll put this token on. That building does not work this round. At the end of a round, all construction tokens will come off. When you attack someone, you can attack various buildings. You can attack, you just decide who you're going to attack the different buildings with. When you attack a building, you're going to look at the defense value of the building. If you equal it or exceed it, then the attack succeeds. Players are going to get points based on how many successful attacks they do. So one successful attack gives you 1 point, while if you do 7 in one turn, you'll get 13 points. And some buildings will give you extra benefits when you attack them, like the town hall gives an extra 2 points. The big town hall will give you an extra 4 points when you attack it, plus a reward card. So there's all sorts of different abilities and things that you can do when attacking. The player you're attacking can, if they happen to have defensive cards in their hands, which you can buy to put in your deck, can add to the defense of a building to make that defense go above and beyond your attack. If so, they're going to get 1 point for each attacker that they rebuffed in this fashion. And so defensive cards can help give points too. Now there's a couple other cards here on the board. You'll notice these cards here are victory rewards. Whenever you get to 5 points, 12 points, or 20 points, or if you defeat somebody's level 3 town hall, you get one of these cards. You'll turn over the top card here, and then you will pick one of these. These are just really amazing cards. Draw 3 cards. 3 attack and bring back a unit card from your discard pile. 3 beer or 3 gold. Everyone else has to give you a beer. Look at the top 10 cards of your deck and reorganize them any way you want. Take 2 unit cards from your discard pile and put them in hand. So these are great reward cards. Not all of them will be in the game. I also mentioned mission cards. Each player starts with level 2, level 1s on your turn. If you accomplish a mission card, they're not that hard, buy one of these cards or succeed in attack against a building, you will put it in your completed missions section and get that many points, and then draw a new mission cards. The mission cards will start at 1s, but eventually will get to be 2 or even 3, have 5 different types of buildings, and once the mission cards are out, that's it, and players will get points that way. Now I mentioned the end of the game happens when a certain number of points have been met. At that point, you're going to check these point cards here. And these are going to be different in each game. So here, the person with the most missions will get 6 points. The person with the most pigatory gets 6 points. The person with the most gold gets 6 points. The person with the most defensive cards gets 6. But that could change. There are all sorts of these cards that are in the game, so you're never quite sure what will be out there. And whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Okay, so first of all, what do you guys think of the looks / components of the game?
I think the game has fantastic graphic design. I'll say that right off the bat. I think the work that went into making sure all the iconography was working, everything looks distinct. You can at a glance tell what a card costs and does, and it's, I like all of that. It's very well done, very well done. The artwork is congruent and very cartoony and looks very solid. I like that. Again, everything looks like it comes from the same universe. Yeah. You don't have cards that seem to have been afterthoughts the way they were designed, or the look, or the artistry, or whatever. And so the entire look of the thing, I think is very solid.
It almost looks like it comes from the Asterisk, Obelix universe to some degree.
Yeah, a little bit, sure.
I'm on point. I'm on board with all of that. What you just said, as far as the artwork being good, it kind of has an app look to it, though.
Yeah.
What you would see.
Well, that's because it's actually based on an app.
Okay.
Oh, really?
All right.
Yeah, apparently that's one of those Vikings fighting each other style games. Very popular one.
It makes a lot more sense then, because one of the main things about the artwork, I liked all the design and all that kind of stuff, but one of the things about the buildings, I thought they were a little underwhelming, I guess you could say. I mean, the actual building itself looked really good, but then it was just on a black card with a different color, like an orange border or something like that.
Yeah, and they had that light burst behind them.
Right, it had no background artwork to it, and that's where I kind of thought they faltered a little bit, but now that I know that they brought it all over from an app, that makes sense. I understand.
I actually really like it. I agree with Z, though. This is one where I like the artwork, but the graphic design is phenomenal. I cannot tell you how important it is for a game, especially in a game like this, where there was, I think, initially, there was 3, 6, 9, 12 different cards, plus that row of cards at the top. That's a lot of cards that you can buy from, and I never sat there and thought, oh, this is overwhelming, all the choices.
Right.
You know, what am I going to buy? And they're also grouped. Do I want to buy attack? Do I want to buy defense? Do I want to buy buildings? Do I want to buy beer? Gold? It was very easy, And I like that they had, most of these games have a bunch of piles like Dominion, or they have that row of cards like Ascension, and this one had both.
Right.
And the row of cards was cool, but never felt like it overwhelmed the other cards. Those basic cards, we bought a lot of them.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we bought a lot of the basic cards that made up for not buying one or two of the bigger ones. And the other thing that you need to work on is the end of the game bonuses, man. Those really
They're huge because they are a lot of points, right?
Yeah. So I mean, buying from that row of cards up there, that's one of the end game bonuses that you get. So if you
Well, it could be, right? It might not be in the game either.
True. But if you neglect that, then you're missing out on a lot of points.
I like that the game feels like a deck building game after they've released, say, like the third expansion already, where they've added player conflict and they've added goals, you know what I mean? And they've added this, they've added that, but it's all in the original release. Now, on the other hand, that makes it sound like it's a complex game or a complex play. It's not.
Yeah.
The game is streamlined. It plays well. It's easy to get into. It's easy to know what you ought to be doing, and you know you can follow the action. But there is enough here to that you can replay it a solid amount. I think, you know, with the focusing on, like I said, end goals or those little personal missions you have. Again, all these things feel like they would have for any other game come out after, say, a couple of expansions, but they're right in. They're baked right in.
Right.
Yeah, obviously the game lends itself to expandability. In fact, I have an expansion we haven't played yet, Ragnarok, which changes it to a co-op game, which I don't know how that will play. But I mean, knowing you can add more goals in, more of those treasure cards.
Right.
And so, two things I thought were very interesting. One is those treasure cards. I really like those. Hey, when you get to a certain number of points, you get this really amazing card that no one else has.
Right.
I kind of like that. They're not game-breaking because everybody can get them.
Right. Right.
But they're really fun to have. Oh, I got Thor, you know, boom, and that's just kind of a neat thing.
And again, that kind of feels like something they would have sold you in like a mini expansion.
Right.
Like, oh, now you can get heroes.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I like that that's right in there, right from the get-go.
Now, the main way to get points over the course of the game, you can get the missions, which feel like accomplishments in a video game, and then there's those end game bonuses, but attacking is a good way to get points.
Yeah.
You pretty much have to attack. So what do you guys think about the fact that attacking doesn't really hurt the defender?
Well, I think that's an important part of why it works well in this game, because in a deck building game, you're all about getting your engine to work well and that type of thing, and the buildings over here on your tableau, which are the ones being attacked, that's kind of your foundation, your core. And if somebody can take that away from you, they can start filling your engine full of holes, and now you're really far behind. So the fact that it doesn't actually hurt you to get attacked, it only helps the attacker. I think that's a pretty foundational reason of why it works well in this deck building game.
Yeah, the interaction there with the combat is not, I would not say it's negative interaction. It's in fact you starting a conquest or a contest and then seeing who comes out on top. In fact, you can get points as the defender, right? So I like that it's just sort of like bolstering over like something and fighting and then seeing who gets points from it. But it's not, as Sam's saying, I attack you and I take something away from you. I give you negative interaction. It doesn't play out that way, which means the combat is fun. You don't dread it, you know. Someone's attacking, you're like, okay, bring it on. Let's see if I can defend against this, you know. I like that. It makes that not an issue, you know.
I never felt like I was defending myself. I always felt like I was just trying to keep you from getting points.
Right.
Which is a completely different feeling. Like if you're attacking my building and if you win, you take it away from me, I need to keep that. So I have to defend myself. But it gives you the feeling of just trying to keep that person from getting more points. That's a completely different feeling for me.
Or stealing those points, right?
Right, yeah.
Like, you're making points, I'm making points. Right.
And there is some negative interaction. There's some cards that let you steal stuff from other people. Yeah. But there's not a lot of that. But the biggest thing about this attacking, since a person can only be attacked once, turn order is a really big deal in this game.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Because if you go first, you can pick who you're attacking first. And so you got to kind of keep an eye on that. And sometimes that could add a bit of luck to the game where you get all those attack cards and then you go last. And so you have to attack the one guy who you're pretty sure took a bunch of defense cards.
Right, sure.
But then, of course, maybe, I don't know.
But that'll change because the turn order will change, and so that'll move around, yeah.
So overall, I really like this game. I'm actually adding it to my collection. This fits in that bucket of deck building with something extra. It's not just deck building. And I'm actually curious to see what these expansions add to it. But I also feel like it's really expandable. There's all sorts of cool. They could just add more heroes and more missions and more, all that stuff. That's an easy expandability, but it's also a game I could teach to people who've not ever played a deck building game ever. Right. First time ever playing a game, and you can jump in and play this one.
Those kinds of expansions too would just only add to the longevity of it, the shelf life of it, because you're not going to be using all of those things at the same time.
Yeah.
So how a game plays from game to game is going to change the more expansions they add to it.
Right. This is very similar to me for Clank. The games are very different, but they have that same thing where, hey, I'm deck building, but I'm using that deck building to do something. Here it's to grow a town and then attack other people.
Right.
Really enjoy that. So for me, this gets 2 Thor hammers up because I can't pronounce the name. Mjolnir?
It's Mjolnir.
Mjolnir?
That's a good try.
Mjolnir.
No.
For me, this is a game that very much emphasizes fun. And that's clear. That comes through for me in the artwork, in the quick turns, in the interaction between players. And so I think that bubbled to the top. And I definitely was aware of it. And I probably just hit my mic and made a bunch of noisy noises. So I'm going to give this one 2 beer mugs up myself. Very much enjoyed it, and I would recommend it.
I'm going to give 2 of these up.
Thumbs?
No. Pints. Because they come in pints.
Okay.
I get
Go
it.
get one.
I get it.
2 big thumbs up. 2 big pints of beer up. Because it's that good of a game. It really is a fun time, and it's... Even though there's interaction, there's conflict, it's still very fun. It doesn't feel oppressive at all. Really enjoyed it a lot. Great theme, too.
All right, that's Vikings Gone Wild. Get it?
Pirates?
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.